What is up, all you GBA type fans? This is Tom. I'm here bringing you guys my Week 11 team builder for Necrostevo and the Utah Jasmine. Now, for you guys who don't know, Necrostevo is Cooper's replacement, as he did have to step away from the league. He didn't change the name, and the team, a little bit different, but not too different. His team is going to consist of, obviously, a lot of what Cooper drafted: Manaphy, Zapdos for Uniclus, Hippowdon, Breloom, Golbat, Scrafty, Klefki, Cloyster, Lantern, and Swellow. I believe he picked up Lantern and Golbat. He dropped Comfey and something else. Oh, wait, Darmanitan, which I got. Looking at his team, obviously a lot of really substantial threats. Things like Manaphy and Reuniclus, especially because obviously they both have really good setup in terms of Calm Mind, like we saw last time versus Cooper. And then Manaphy with the Tail Glow. I know that both Cooper and Stevo have been struggling lately using, well, namely Manaphy. But with the whole, the fact that I can use its Z move, I suspect that even if I do bring Vaporeon for Manaphy, he can still break it if he does bring, the Gracium Z set. Because if he gets the +1 with Calm Mind, a +3 with the Tail Glow, Bloom Doom just absolutely destroys Vaporeon. Obviously, Zapdos, Golbat, both flying types, both really good threats in terms of just defogging and pivoting and just getting off good solid chip damage. Hippowdon and I believe Lantern are two of his main walls that he uses. Klefki is of course annoying keys, but I do have one of the better checks to it in Nidoqueen. Breloom and Scrafty, two physical threats. I have a harder time dealing with Scrafty than I do with Breloom, and you'll see why in a second. And then finally Cloyster is there in case I bring Zydog, and Swellow being the fast bird. I have to figure out a way to offensively check it, because if you remember last time, without a Scarfer, it can do a lot of damage late game, which I kind of want to prevent. So with that in mind, what I suspect he's going to bring, I kind of suspect Manaphy, Reuniclus, Zapdos, Hippowdon, Lantern, and Swellow if he wants to get really offensive. I don't necessarily see Golbat. I think he's a little hard pressed to bring the keys, because I do have something like Celesteela. I have Nidoqueen, and a few things on my team can do a pretty good job against keys. But it's up in the air. He could bring Breloom even though I have Celesteela. He could do like a sub-focus punch set. He could bring Scrafty even though I have Gardevoir. He could bring Lantern even though I have Zydog. Overall, he has a lot of different options. I gotta prep for all 11 of these, if not 10. This is one of those matches that no matter what he brings, I got to be ready for it. And also, for anyone who doesn't know, this match is super important for me specifically. I'm not out of the playoff race yet. If I beat Necro, and then next week I beat Chase, assuming he loses to Geo this week, I'm in the playoffs. So with that in mind, I'm going hard. This is the purpose of never quitting in terms of a GBA season. Not to get too soapboxy. Never quit, and there's always a chance that somehow you can make your way into the playoffs just by getting necessary wins. This is one of them. Beat Necro, beat Chase, and I'm in the playoffs. So with that in mind, let's hop into my team. My team this week is going to consist of Celesteela, Thundurus, Nidoqueen, Vaporeon, Hitmonlee, and Darmanitan. Each mon obviously has a different purpose, and I will explain why. Celesteela is going to be a sassy set. Max HP, 84 defense, 172 special defense. This set is going to consist of Heavy Slam, Air Slash, Giga Drain, and Leech Seed. This is going to be my primary switch in for things like Breloom, Scrafty, and Physical Swellow. I say that purposefully because, in addition, with the 252 HP, 172 SPDF nature, this allows me to not be too KO'd by a Spec Swellow Heat Wave, and then I can, of course, hit it back with a Heavy Slam and knock it out if rocks are up. If rocks aren't up, I do upwards 75 to 83% to it. So if it has a little bit of chip damage, if it's Life Orb, if it's something like that, it's taking damage from something else, I can then knock it out. But I'm not knocked out by Heat Wave if he's a Spec Swellow set. In addition, this is also a very good switch in for things like Hippowdon as well as Golbat, because obviously Golbat can only Super Fang. It can't Toxic, it can defog, it can U-turn out, but I I'm in a good position at that point, and especially for a Powdon. Earthquake, I'm totally immune to its stab. It can Stone Edge, but it has to hit the Stone Edge. It can't Toxic. If it has Fire Fang, it inhibits his coverage for something else. He can set up Stealth Rock, but I can Giga Drain, I can Leech Seed, and I can whittle him down. And as you'll see on the Nidoqueen set, I have another purpose to allow this to not only live, but also put pressure on his team somewhere between offensively and defensively. This thing outspeeds Hippowdon. It can seed anything that's Breloom, not Breloom, I should say. And that kind of leads me into its item. With the safety glasses and Air Slash, it allows me to entirely shut down a Breloom set because he could Leech if he goes for Spore, if he goes for Leech Seed. Obviously, he'll Leech Seed me, but if I come in on like a Spore, he has to go. Like, he has to get the hell out of there, because if he doesn't, I knock him out 100% of the time with a obviously non-invested Air Slash. Also, the other thing too is that with the safety goggles, I was going back and forth between leftovers and safety goggles. It prevents him from getting a free switch into something like Manaphy or Reuniclus or Lantern when Celesteal is asleep. I don't really want to mess around with sleep turns. I like Celesteal as my best option, both defensively for a lot of his things, as well as offensively to then pressure a lot of his passive walls, because Celesteal is just that versatile in terms of its stats all the way down. Next up, we have Thundurus. This is going to be a Scarf, Offensive Thundurus, T-Bolt, HP Ice, Grass Knot, U-turn. Very straightforward. The purpose for this Thundurus is just basically be a offensive check to things like Manaphy, namely Z, Rain Dance, Manaphy. In addition, it could also check a Specs or a Gut Flame Orb Swallow, as well as offensive Zapdos. I will outspeed all of those, namely Manaphy and Zapdos, by 1 point, and it allows me to then go ahead and I can pivot out. I can just T-Bolt outright if Lantern or Hippowdon are down, and I just have a lot of good options all the way around. T-Bolt is there for things like Manaphy. It could also hit Zapdos. It could also hit Golbat. And then, of course, I can just T-Bolt everything, like I said, once Hippowdon, Lantern are down. Grass Knot is there for Hippowdon. It's also there for Lantern, and it knocks out Cloyster outright, mainly because while Cloyster has a good defensive stat, has kind of piss poor special defense. It's not going to do a lot to Lantern, but if I am in, I click Grass Knot, he's going to take damage, versus if I click T-Bolt and Hippowdon is down, I can then, I'm then giving him HP, which I don't really want to do. U-turn is there for pivot to allow me to get into things like Darmanitan, Hitmonlee, or Celesteela. Also provides me momentum, and it prevents Lantern from coming in for free on a Volt Switch. Thundurus this week is a necessary win con, because without it, I lose to a lot of his faster things. This is just here to ensure that no matter what the situation, I have Thundurus coming in to outspeed things like Scrafty if it's not +2 with a D-Dance. Cloyster if it's not smashed up, which I obviously have other things to stop that throughout the game. But I like this Thundurus set. I think it's going to do really well. The thing from the last time I played Cooper is that I brought a Yachi Berry set, a Yachi Nasty Plot set. That's obviously obsolete because he does have Lantern, so I had to think a little bit, standard, I guess you could say, but obviously necessary. Really looking forward to this Thundurus set actually working the way I want it to. Next up, we have Nidoqueen. Black Sludge Sheer Force set, 204 HP, 4 defense because that's how it works, level 50, 28 special attack, 252 SPDF, and 20 speed. This is going to be my primary check for things like Zapdos with HP Ice. This is an immediate switch in for Klefki because Klefki can't touch this set even if it has HP Ice. It's going to lose coverage for if he wants to pack like Magnet Rise. Basically, he's going to suffer 4 Moveslot Syndrome if he has Klefki. For Spikes, for T-Wave, for Play Rough, for HP Ice, for whatever else he wants to run. So this Nidoqueen is really nice in that regard. This set is specifically built so that I'm not 3-hit KO'd by offensive, I guess timid or modest, HP Ice Zapdos. In addition, I'm not 2-hit KO'd by Ice Beam from a modest Lantern, or, well, Hydro Pump is going to do upwards like 60 to 70%. So I can't take a Hydro. I could live one and then set up T-Spikes. That's the main goal with this Nidoqueen set. T-Spikes versus, this Cooper team is really good. Obviously, he has nothing that can absorb them, and a lot of things that are going to be negatively affected by them. Manaphy doesn't like taking 12% each turn. Reuniclus is going to have Magikarp, doesn't really matter. If it has a Regenerator, having that T-Spikes damage is going to show me that. Hippowdon's not going to enjoy taking that 12% because Hippowdon needs to stay healthy in order to take on a lot of my other threats, being Hitmonlee and Darmanitan. Breloom, obviously I can give it Toxic Heal, but that's what I sell Steal for. Scrafty's not going to enjoy it, and if he's Intimidate, he's just going to get whittled down even faster. Cloyster's not going to enjoy it, and especially Lantern's not going to enjoy it. The main purpose is that I just need to get that passive damage up to ensure that I can then break his team with my other offensive things, but that T-Spikes is really nice. Stealth Rock is kind of a secondary concern. I kind of like having T-Spikes more, so I'm going to go for that first. I can get up hazards with some relative ease. I could predict a Volt Switch from Lantern, go in to Nidoqueen, take the next hit being an Ice Beam or a Hydro, assuming it's not a crit, live that hit, set up T-Spikes, and then worry about taking more hits later on. Earth Power is there for damage. Ice Beam is there for the things that aren't going to take Earth Power damage, being Zapdos, Golbat, Swellow, Hippowdon, and even Breloom. This is a perfect set this week. I'm going to use it. Basically, this is almost the exact same set I brought last week for the Xurkitree against Steve. It's still going to have the same sort of focus. Get up T-Spikes, do damage if I need to, and otherwise just be bulky Nidoqueen. Next up, we have a similar, Spadef set. We have a Calm Vaporeon. This is going to be 252 HP, 180 defense, 76 special defense. Now, initially, this set was pretty much max HP Spadef, but as I was planning more and more, I kind of started looking at my team, and I said, well then, what takes on just Shell Smash Cloyster? Nothing. And if he has Rock Blast, which I suspect that he probably will for something like Darmanitan, I can't really live if I'm max Spadef. So I had to invest pretty heavily in defense. This set allows me to not be 2-hit KO'd by a +2 Rock Blast, 5 hits, obviously, from a Cloyster. If he's Life Orb, if he's Banded, totally different story. But I can switch it in. I can take that hit and roar him out, if not Scald if he's low enough. I can fish for the burn. I can protect. I can just get some leftovers back. This is going to be my primary switch in for a few things. This is going to be my primary switch in for a Calm Mind Reuniclus, Tail Glow Manaphy, as well as Shell Smash Cloyster. It, like I said, tanks Rock Blast. I can phase things out, like Reuniclus, Manaphy, Cloyster. I can pass wishes, which is going to be necessary for a lot of the more passive things like Celesteela, Nidoqueen, even Hitmonlee. I can protect to scout for moves on certain things, on like Cloyster, or to see if he wants to make a prediction on something that's going to come in like Nidoqueen. But I can scout for other moves. I haven't ran Protect a lot this season, when I'm also running Wish. But this week it's relatively necessary because if I come in on a Tail Glow with Manaphy, I can Protect, which then will reduce the power that he can go when he clicks. Like if he has the Z Gracium, Bloom Doom is going to be reduced to the point that I can live it, and that kind of burns his trump card. Granted, I'm not going to enjoy an Energy Ball +3, but I can then phase him out, and it burns his trump card for later on, which then would allow Thundurus to come in, and then T-Bolt or other things come in and allow it to get that big damage off on Manaphy. Vaporeon this week is a necessity for a lot of his threats that are going to be primarily setup heavy, and I need that as just a check. And that's kind of what the whole purpose is going to be between Nidoqueen and this Vaporeon. Next up, we have AV, Not Offensive, Reckless, Adamant, Hitmonlee. This is going to be 228 HP, 156 attack, 124 speed, Adamant, High Jump Kick, Knockoff, Stone Edge, and Rapid Spin. This is going to be my spinner to ensure that I can get rid of rocks or spikes, to ensure that Darm and Thundurus don't get whittled down over time. And they could remain healthy enough to bust things and otherwise not just get chipped away when it's coming in and pivoting out and all that happy fun shit. Knockoff High Jump Kick destroys everything that's not defensive Zapdos, Golbat, or Hippowdon, because they can all resist those hits or otherwise chew those hits and then recover it off nicely with Roost or Slack Off. It has enough speed to outspeed Adamant Breloom or Jolly Scrafty, obviously barring setup. This thing is going to put in a lot of work. It can live hits from things like Zapdos, things like Lantern. Anything else in the team is going to threaten it out, but besides relying super heavily on things like Nidoqueen and Vaporeon, this can also chew a hit from something like Lantern or Zapdos, get off that big damage, go for that knockoff. Stone Edge is also there to threaten out Zapdos so that it can't just roost up on me and I can't do anything to it. Hitmonlee, if you remember from the last time I faced Cooper, did a lot of work, and I expect that to happen again this time around because I know that he has very few switch-ins to this, just raw switch-ins, and nothing on his team wants to take a knockoff, same way things on my team don't want to take knockoffs. So having that as an option and having the 2 other coverage moves is really nice. I hope this thing works out as well as I expect it to. Finally, we have the creme de la creme. We have the monster, the nuke button, if you will. We have Darmanitan. This is going to be an adamant set, 100 HP, max attack, 156 speed, banded. We're gonna go through real quick just a lot of the calcs that, you know, I was going through when we were kind of building this set. With T-Spikes up, show me his switch-in. Defensive Hippowdon takes 70 to 82% from a Flare Blitz, 44 to 53 from a Fire Punch. He can't live 2 with T-Spikes up. AV Lantern, because I assume he's going to be Spadef for things like Thundurus, things like Vaporeon. You kind of get the idea. AV Lantern, 70 to 82 with Flare Blitz, 43 to 52 with Fire Punch or U-Turn, because they both have the same roll, and 120 to 20% minimum from an Earth. T-Spikes up, can't live anything. Defensive Golbat, 75 to 89% with Flare Blitz, 47 to 56 with after taking a Fire Punch. Can't live 2. And of course it doesn't outspeed. If rocks are up 2, then he definitely can't live 2. Flare Blitz to a defensive Zapdos does 94 to 112, 60 to 70% from a Fire Punch. And if he's offensive Zapdos, Fire Punch does 75 to 88%, and he can't really switch in more than once if rocks are up. Finally, the thing that might save him the most is an Intimidate Scrafty max, because Flare Blitz is going to do 59 to 69, 33, 37 to 44% with a Fire Punch, and U-Turn is going to do 18 to 21%. It's his best means of living that hit, but inversely, it also hinders the rest of his team because Scrafty's not really going to be able to survive a lot of those hits, and Drain Punch is only so effective against my team. Nidoqueen obviously resists that Drain Punch. Celesteal can take that hit. If he's not a Life Orb High Jump Kick Scrafty, then the majority of my team can take on Scrafty. Like I said, this is my primary win con / pivotmon, especially if T-Spikes and Stealth Rock are up. A lot of his things can't take 2. Can break a majority of his walls, allowing Thundurus or Lee or even this thing to clean up later. Darmanitan obviously cleans up once things like Swellow, Zapdos, and Manaphy are all down. It is in a perfect speed tier. His next closest mon to this Darmanitan is a base 70 speed Breloom or a Cloyster. So this is meant to outspeed both of those, being that they're jolly. And then finally, this is my offensive check to a max HP, max defense, bold Reuniclus that could, you know, should be a calm mindset. Flare Blitz does 92 to 109% to a max set, and in case that starts getting too many calm minds up, it destroys Vaporeon, it gets rid of Celesteela. Instead of sacking things and going for knockoff and, you know, allowing Thundurus to not really do that much damage, this thing comes in and I do basically all of its HP with a Flare Blitz. In addition, if it does have some chip damage racked up, it does 58 to 69% with Fire Punch, 56 to 66% with a U-Turn. I love this team. I think it's going to do great. I hope you guys agree. I have the offensive presence in terms of Scarf Thundurus, the 2 offensive physically threats in terms of Hitmonlee and Darmanitan. I have the walls that are necessary, especially, you know, Spadef, in terms of Vaporeon and Nidoqueen, and then of course I have Celesteal, which kind of can do both. I really hope this match goes well. I'm excited to show you guys this match tomorrow. Not sure what time it's going to go up. I do have kind of a packed day tomorrow. But with that in mind, I'll see you guys tomorrow for the match. Later.